In this short overview, you will learn about Montana's library federations, their structure, value, and history. You will understand the responsibilities of library directors, voting board members, the coordinator, and federation chair, and you will find out where to learn more about federations. What are library federations? They are a regional network of libraries that come together to provide support to one another and to help improve services locally. By working together, we often can provide more services than we can provide individually. Currently, there are 6 federations in Montana, and they are administered by the Montana State Library Commission. Federations have been around since the 1950s. They have always been closely associated with the Montana State Library. The current 6 federations were in place by 1976. The photo on the screen shows a map of the federations. It was created circa 1980s. The purpose of federations was always to improve library services for Montanans. In the beginning, the idea was to use a regional system model with a strong central library. Over time, that has changed, with more of an emphasis on a loose network of independent libraries working together. Federation priorities have changed over the years. When they first began in the late 50s and 60s, individual library development was the priority. Not all parts of Montana had access to library services. The thinking behind this priority was individual libraries needed a lot of support and assistance to successfully offer library services in their area. Priorities shifted in the 1970s. Stronger individual libraries led the State Library Commission to direct federations to address the development and strengthening of library services. This meant federations focused more on library services within the region. It wasn't just about individual library development. It was the beginning of prioritizing collaboration. In the 1980s, collaborating became a true priority of federations as the State Library Commission directed the federations to focus on resource sharing, meaning the sharing of materials, services, people, and funding. The advent of the internet in the 1990s led to technology being included in federation work. Libraries needed assistance with purchasing computers and providing internet access. Today, the priorities of the federations are continuing education for member library directors, staff and board members, resource sharing, technology, and programming. As you can see, some of the priorities are very much directed at services for Montanans. Resource sharing, technology, and programming are about services directly to Montanans, whereas continuing education is about developing the skills library directors and board members need to successfully manage a library. The federation structure has changed over time. From the 1950s to 2005, there was a federation headquarters library. The library director of that library was the federation coordinator, and they managed everything about the federation. They received all of the funding for the federation. This was a significant responsibility. They had to manage those funds and report on the use of the funds to the State Library Commission. The coordinator also provided a significant amount of support to other libraries within the federation. They coached and advised the directors of other federation libraries. They provided training, they provided marketing services, and they often managed library collections and bookmobiles that were shared within the federation. A significant decrease in funding caused this model of a federation headquarters library to become less effective. The 6 federations went from sharing almost $500,000 to a low of $90,000. With the loss of funding, the headquarters library could not provide the level of support that was needed. The state library ended up taking on the training and consulting work to help alleviate the burden on the Federation headquarters libraries. The Federation coordinators informed the state library that it was time to change the model. Legislation was passed that removed the Federation headquarters library reference. The Federation coordinator position remained in existence. There has always been a Federation coordinator. The woman in this photo is Inez Herrig, who was the director of the Lincoln County Libraries and the very first Federation coordinator. She oversaw a federation in far western Montana, one that was eventually absorbed into the current Tamarack Federation. There are some important guiding documents for each federation. The first two items on the screen apply to every federation. Title 22, Chapter 1, Part 4 of the Montana Code Annotated explains the policy and purpose of federations and the role of library board members and the coordinator. Federations are one of the places where library board members play a very important role. This is partially due to the financial authority and responsibility of library boards. Federations receive public funds, so does the library board members who are voting members of a federation. The administrative rules of Montana have more details about the federation structure and the State Library Commission's direction for federations. Within individual federations, bylaws are created and adopted by member libraries. These bylaws spell out how the federation will run, what committees exist, how officers are elected, and the duties of those officers. The key thing to keep in mind is that while the State Library Commission sets the funding and directs the overall purpose of federations, member libraries have quite a bit of authority over how the federation itself operates. The plan of service is the way federation members determine how funds will be used. These are adopted in the spring and presented to the State Library Commission in June. If the State Library Commission approves the plans of service, State Library staff send the funding to individual libraries. The amount each library receives comes from the approved plans of service. Library directors are asked to spend the money in a way that aligns with the plan of service and to report on how the funds were spent. The Federation coordinators present the final reports to the State Library Commission in the fall. Library directors, library board members, the Federation coordinator, and State Library staff all play a role in making federations a valuable experience for everyone. In this next section, we're going to take a look at the responsibilities of the different key players within a federation. We're going to start with the Federation coordinator. This person continues to play an administrative and leadership role in the federation. The most obvious thing they do for the federation is facilitate the meetings. Federations usually meet in the spring and the fall. Federation coordinators create the agendas, handle the logistics of bringing people together, and share meeting materials. The coordinators assist library directors and board members by answering any questions about the Federation, and they continue their historic role of encouraging and developing leadership amongst Federation libraries. The Federation coordinator helps Federation members create a plan of service describing how the funding will be spent. As mentioned earlier, they create a final report and appear before the State Library Commission to report on the previous year. They are a liaison between member libraries and the State Library. The Federation Chair is a board member, a library board member. They are elected by member libraries. The Federation's bylaws spell out how the election works and when it happens. Much like a library board chair, the Federation Chair will call the meeting to order and will hand discussion items to the coordinator as needed. They'll manage the motion-making and voting process. Like library board meetings, federations use a parliamentary process where member libraries make motions and members vote on whether to proceed with a motion. The Federation Chair will be the one to adjourn the meeting. Everybody brings different skill sets to the Federation Chair position. The role is flexible. It is very helpful when the chair is comfortable managing the discussion and assisting the coordinator with creating an agenda. It is also helpful when the chair assists with any committees, including appointing people, answering questions, or perhaps even serving on a committee. While the Federation coordinator and chair play obvious and visible roles in making the Federation successful, individual library board members and directors also help make the Federation a valuable experience for everyone. Each library has one library board member that is a voting representative for the library. One vote per library is how it works. One of the biggest responsibilities this board member has is to vote. It's also a responsibility for that board member and any other library board members who attend the Federation meeting to be prepared to listen and learn. One of the values of federations is their regional nature. This means libraries are often talking about problems that exist in the region. They might also discuss ideas or services that could work in the local board member's library. Board members should also be prepared to share what they learn with other board members who cannot attend the meeting. There is continuing education that can give you valuable information. There are also reports from the state library and others that may be of importance to the local library. Working with the library director to share what was learned at the Federation meeting is helpful, both for deepening an understanding of the role of the library and improving services at the local level. Finally, participate in the meetings and volunteer to help with committees. It's a wonderful way to make the Federation experience more valuable and interesting, and to help the Federation become stronger. Library directors also play a role in the federations. Federations are for both directors and board members. Federation meetings provide opportunities to interact with peers. It's very helpful to share ideas. Directors can choose to share information about things that worked in their library or mention challenges facing the library. Directors who do this may discover they are not alone. The sharing also helps others feel more comfortable talking about their own experiences. By sharing ideas and concerns, meaningful networking begins to occur. The collective brain power within the room might come up with solutions that will work in multiple libraries. Library directors can also listen and learn. Continuing education provided at the Federation meeting and reports from the state library and other libraries may be useful in improving library services or the director's skills. It's also helpful when directors assist the voting board member as they report about what happened at the Federation meeting. Library directors are the ones consistently present at Federation meetings, whereas board members may change. That is why it is helpful when the library director and the board members share responsibility for reporting back to the other board members and/or library staff. Finally, two very important duties of a library director are to use the funding received as agreed upon in the plan of service. It should be used for the programs outlined in the plan of service. And directors need to report on how the funds were spent. It's also helpful to report on any value community members and/or the library received from the Federation funds. The Montana State Library assigns a staff member to support the Federation and its libraries. A statewide consulting librarian, also known as the State Library Consultant, provides assistance to Federation coordinators by helping the coordinator plan the meetings, arrange continuing education, and assisting with anything else Federation related. The consulting librarian works directly with Federation libraries. They regularly visit the libraries, provide assistance to directors and board members, answer questions, provide continuing education and support for the local libraries. The work with local libraries helps state library staff better understand what is happening in Montana's libraries. This puts the consulting librarians in the position of being liaisons between local libraries, the Federation, and the state library. The consulting librarians are able to share information that helps with the design of state library services. These consulting librarians are able to report back on state library activities. They can answer questions about state library services and can relay feedback from the libraries that other staff can use to improve services to local libraries and the Federation. When we asked member libraries to talk about the value of library federations, They focused on the regional nature of federations and how that lent itself to problem solving and meaningful networking. Meeting at least once a year also helped reduce feelings of isolation. Some parts of Montana are isolated. Library directors and board members may not have much opportunity to interact with others. It could be a long drive to the next library. Coming together helps reduce that feeling of isolation. And finally, training provided at Federation meetings can help both board members and library directors improve services and the administration of the library. You can make a real difference in the value that is received from the Federation by participating in the process. Ways to participate include suggesting ideas for continuing education, being a part of the group, and volunteering where needed. You will get more out of the Federation if you are active at the meetings and in committees. Another benefit to volunteering to help with Federation duties is you will increase your own knowledge and skills. There are some resources that can help. Review your Federation bylaws to understand how your Federation is structured, how elections work, and the role of officers. Get to know your Federation coordinator. This person can answer a lot of questions about the Federation and plays a leadership role at the state library and statewide. There is a website that has links to all the federations. There's also a Federation notebook. It describes federations, their purpose, and the responsibilities of the coordinator, Federation chair, and member libraries. There's also a Federation reporting dashboard. It can be interesting to see how other libraries use their funds. It can be a source of great ideas for improving services. And finally, the Montana State Library consultants are an additional resource for you. A consultant is assigned to each federation to provide support and assistance. Please don't hesitate to reach out to state library staff. We love it when you reflect on what you learned and apply it to your individual library. What is your library's assigned federation? How does your library use the federation funding it receives? Ask your library director or another board member who has attended the federation meeting what benefits are received from the federation. It might not hurt to ask if there are any concerns with the federation and what those might be. As mentioned, federations are as strong as the members make them. If the federation is not working quite right for your library, there might be others that feel the same way. If there are concerns, talk to the coordinator or the state library consultant assigned to your library. How can you help make the federation more valuable? What skills and experience can you bring to the federation? The federation's success comes from all of us working together: state library staff, library directors, library board members, and the federation coordinator. We can help make it stronger and more effective. Are there particular skills and experience that you can bring to the federation? Or are there things that you are interested in learning? If so, consider volunteering for a committee or to be the federation coordinator if a director, or the chair if you are a board member. Thank you. Thank you for the work you do as a library board member or as a library director. We will end with the Montana State Legislature's policy statement about federations. The fundamental purpose of federations is to improve library services in order to give the people of Montana the fullest opportunity to enrich and inform themselves.